Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're going to really do a deep dive into something that I think is, maybe we take it for granted sometimes. We're going to talk about time.
Ah, yes.
And more specifically, how we can really change our thinking to see time as like our most valuable asset.
Yeah.
The book that we're using for this deep dive is called The Value of Time, Living a Meaningful Life. And it's packed with great stuff, I'm telling you. Really makes you think.
You know, what I really thought was interesting about the book is how it pushes us to kind of go past that idea of just managing time. Like we always hear about time management.
Right.
But it's really about seeing time as the foundation of, well, everything we experience.
Right.
And they have this great concept in the book called human lifetime versus human waste of time.
I love that. Human lifetime versus human waste of time. It is, I don't know, it's kind of jarring when you first see it.
Yes.
It makes you really think about all the ways we let time slip away without even, like, realizing it, you know?
It's so true. I think we get so caught up in the day-to-day that we forget, like, time is the one thing you can never earn back.
Right.
It's almost like we're constantly trading this incredibly precious thing for stuff that, well, maybe it doesn't matter as much.
That brings us to kind of the main point of the book.
All right.
Why time is, I want to say it's like at the top of our priority list.
It should be, for sure.
And they give 5 really compelling reasons, starting with irreplaceability. And that one kind of hit me hard, you know, because it's like a reminder that unlike money or possessions, you can't get time back.
Absolutely. And they have this really, I don't know, kind of sad but thought-provoking example about the idea of, like, missing the chance to learn a new language as a child.
Oh, yeah.
And how, yeah, you can pick it up later in life, but you'll never have that same ease that you would have had as a kid.
Right.
It's a real reminder to, like, seize those opportunities when you have them.
It's funny because we always talk about windows of opportunity when we're talking about business, but we don't really think about that for our personal lives.
I think that's a great point. And I know I'm more deliberate about my time when it comes to work goals.
Right.
But with personal time, it's like, well, whatever happens, happens.
The book then goes on to this, it's a cool concept. It's the universality of time. It's this idea that we all get 24 hours a day, no matter who you are or what you do.
Right.
And what really struck me was this comparison they make between a CEO, like a high-powered CEO, and a homeless person. You know, they both experience time in the exact same way.
That's a good way to put it.
The difference is how they use it. So, you know, working with people from all different backgrounds, I'm just curious, does that idea resonate with you? That time is like, it's a level playing field.
Absolutely. I mean, I've worked with people from, you know, all sorts of backgrounds, income levels, everything. And I got to say, the one thing that's consistent is that everybody struggles with time.
Right.
It's not about how much time you have. It's how you use it.
And that takes us to the next reason why time is, well, so valuable. It's the basis for every experience we have.
Yes.
Every skill we learn, every relationship, every achievement. It all takes time.
Yeah, and this is where I think a lot of us, myself included, get kind of tripped up, you know?
Yeah.
We underestimate how much time it takes to reach a big goal. Like, we get excited about quick fixes and instant results, but we forget that real growth takes time.
It's like building a house, right?
Exactly.
You can't lay the foundation one day and expect to move in the next.
You got it.
It takes time, patience, consistent effort.
For sure. And that applies to, well, almost everything. Whether it's learning a new skill, writing a book, building a business, it all takes consistent effort over time.
And this idea of time taking time really connects with what the book calls the intrinsic value of time. This one, I gotta admit, this concept kind of blew my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's saying that time is valuable in and of itself, not just because it helps us do something else.
It's about the experience itself.
Yeah.
Think about watching a sunset.
Yeah.
It's not about what you get out of it. It's about the beauty, the peace, the moment.
Right. It's a good reminder to, like, slow down and enjoy those moments that don't seem productive, you know?
Exactly.
And I think that leads us perfectly into the last reason the book highlights the historical importance of time.
Yeah, here we start seeing time as the stage for, well, all of human history.
Right.
Every event, every invention, every civilization, it all happened within the framework of time. I mean, even ancient civilizations, they knew how important it was to, like, track time.
Yeah.
They used calendars and, you know, they looked at the stars to plan their lives.
And it's amazing to think that time isn't just something we made up. It's like the very fabric of our existence.
Right.
It's what allows history to exist, right?
Exactly.
And like the book says, time just keeps moving forward,
It does.
relentlessly shaping the present and the future, whether we like it or not.
That can be a little daunting, can it?
It can.
But it can also be motivating. It's like, hey, we have this limited time to make our mark on the world
Right.
and live a life that, feels meaningful to us.
So, okay, we've talked about how valuable time is, but why do we waste it so much?
It's the million-dollar question, right?
The book goes into some of the common culprits, and I gotta say, I saw myself in every single one.
I think we all do.
The first one is probably the one we're all guilty of. Just not being aware. We
Yeah.
get caught in these traps,
Yeah.
mindless scrolling, binge watching, hours just disappearing.
It's so easy to get sucked into the digital world.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's always something to watch, something to read, something to click on. And it's hard to resist, those little dopamine hits we get.
Absolutely. I'm definitely guilty of the endless scrolling. What about you? Are there any, surprising time traps you've noticed in your own life?
For me, it's research. Like, I love to learn new things, but I can easily spend, hours reading articles and studies.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly it's like, whoa, half the day is gone.
Right.
You have to be mindful of those habits that, feel productive on the surface.
Right.
But actually, they're pulling you away from the important stuff.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. I mean, research can be its own form of procrastination, right?
Totally.
And speaking of procrastination, the book calls it out as one of the big time wasters. And I think we've all been there.
Oh, yeah.
Putting things off until the last minute.
Classic. Right.
Like, cramming for an exam or finishing a project at work right before the deadline.
It's that struggle between what we should do and what we want to do in the moment.
Right.
We convince ourselves we work better under pressure.
Oh, yeah.
But deep down, we know it's an excuse.
And sometimes it's not even procrastination. Sometimes it's fear of failure.
That's a big one.
Like the book gives this example of an aspiring novelist who never actually writes anything because they're terrified of, being criticized or rejected.
Right.
It's almost like they're wasting time to avoid wasting more time. Does that make sense?
That's a really insightful way to put it. I think fear could be a huge time waster.
Yeah.
It keeps us from even starting.
Right.
And then we get stuck in this cycle of overthinking and self-doubt.
Absolutely. It's like we're frozen, paralyzed by this fear of what if.
I think that's a great way to put it.
And that kind of takes us to a bigger question about how our culture influences our relationship with time.
Okay, yeah.
The book points out that, some cultures are all about relaxation and family time.
Yeah.
Others are more about hustle and achievement.
Right.
So I'm curious, from your perspective, do you see how these different views of time can affect us on a personal level?
Absolutely. And I think it happens in ways we don't even realize. Like, we pick up these messages about time from our families, our communities, even like the media. If we're constantly bombarded with this idea that we have to be busy all the time to be valuable, it's hard not to feel that pressure.
It's like we're supposed to be on 24/7, maximize every minute.
Right. But then what gets lost is like rest, rejuvenation, just being present in the moment.
And that leads us to the last time waster the book talks about. And it's a big one, especially in today's world. Instant gratification.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge one.
It's that desire for immediate results and rewards. And it makes us choose the easy thing over the thing that'll really make a difference in the long run.
It's so tempting, right? Like checking our phones, scrolling through social media instead of tackling, that big project.
Exactly. So do you have any strategies for, resisting those urges? Like, how do we stay focused on the stuff that really matters?
One thing that's helped me is connecting to the why behind my goals. Like, when I have a clear vision of what I'm working towards and why it's important to me, it's easier to resist those quick hits of pleasure that don't really align with that vision. It's almost like having a compass that helps me stay on track.
That's such a great point. I mean, without a strong sense of purpose, it's so easy to get distracted.
Yeah, for sure.
It's interesting because up until now, we've been talking about how we, as individuals, see and manage our time.
Yeah.
But the book takes this really interesting turn when it starts talking about kids.
Yeah, raising time-savvy kids.
Exactly.
That's where we can really make a difference for the future, right?
Right.
Like, if we can teach our kids to have a healthy relationship with time from a young age.
Right.
Well, that's setting them up for success in so many ways.
Absolutely. It's not just about, managing their schedules and stuff. It's about giving them a deeper understanding of how valuable time is and how to use it wisely.
I agree.
And the book lays out 7 key points for doing that. We don't have time to go through all of them now, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 that really stand out to you.
For me, I think the idea of fostering a growth mindset around time is huge. It's about helping kids see time as an opportunity for learning, growth, exploration, not something to be scared of or, wasted.
Right.
Like encouraging them to embrace challenges, to see mistakes as learning experiences, and to understand that, progress takes time.
I love that. It's like you're giving them the power to shape their own relationship with time.
That's exactly it.
Instead of like time being something that's imposed on them.
Right, exactly. And that ties in with another point the book makes about encouraging meaningful activities. And I think it's important to emphasize that this isn't about just keeping kids busy.
Oh, yeah.
It's about giving them experiences that will, spark their creativity, their curiosity, their love of learning.
Absolutely.
So things like reading, playing music, being out in nature, sports, all that stuff. Those activities not only teach them skills, but they also help them develop this sense of accomplishment and fulfillment.
And, let's be real. We can't talk about kids and time today without talking about screen time.
It's the elephant in the room, right?
The book talks about setting boundaries, finding that balance between, the digital world and the real world.
Right, and it's not about saying technology is bad.
Right.
It's about helping kids understand that there's a time and place for everything.
Right.
And that spending hours and hours passively watching or scrolling can actually leave them feeling kind of empty.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Compared to engaging in activities that challenge them in a different way.
So out of all those strategies for raising time-savvy kids, is there one that particularly resonates with you, from your own experience?
I think one that stands out for me is leading by example.
Oh, yeah.
I remember growing up, my parents were super organized.
Okay.
They had a really good sense of how they wanted to spend their time.
Yeah.
It wasn't strict or anything,
Yeah.
but they just had this natural awareness of time that I think I just kind of absorbed.
That's amazing. It's like proof that modeling those good habits really works.
I think so. Kids are like little sponges. They pick up on everything, even if we don't realize it.
So true. It's that saying, actions speak louder than words, right?
Absolutely.
We can tell our kids all day long about managing time, but if they see us rushing around, stressed out, glued to our phones...
That's the message you're going to get.
Exactly. And it's a good reminder for us, as adults,
Yeah.
we have to be mindful of our own relationship with time.
Definitely.
If we want to raise time-savvy kids, we got to walk the walk ourselves.
That's for sure.
So we've covered a lot today. Why time is so valuable, how we waste it, how to have a healthier relationship with it.
Right.
But before we wrap up, I wanted to touch on one more really powerful idea from the book.
Okay. Yeah.
It's this idea that a deeper understanding of time can actually lead to a more meaningful life.
It's a big idea for sure.
And it's almost like time becomes less about quantity and more about quality.
Yeah, it's not just about fitting as much as possible into our day.
Right.
It's about asking ourselves what really matters,
Yeah.
what kind of legacy we want to leave behind, what kind of story we want our life to tell.
Exactly. It's about finding those moments of meaning in everyday life.
Right.
Whether it's a good conversation, appreciating nature, doing something you're passionate about.
Yeah.
It's realizing that a meaningful life isn't about checking things off a list.
I agree.
It's about being present, making choices that bring us joy, that give us a sense of purpose.
That shift, right? From a human waste of time to a fulfilling human lifetime.
That's it. It's a powerful reminder that time isn't just happening to us. We're actively shaping it with every choice we make. So as we start to wrap up our deep dive, what's one thing you hope people will take away from this conversation?
If I had to sum it up, I'd say time is not just a resource. It's the resource. It's the foundation for everything. And how we use it, well, that determines the story of our lives.
I love that. Time is the story of our lives. That's really going to stick with me. And to leave our listeners with something to think about, I have a question inspired by the book. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice about time, what would you say?
That is, wow, what a question. I think for me, I would tell my younger self to not worry so much about being perfect.
Yeah.
To just get started.
I like that.
I spend so much time, overthinking and second-guessing myself and waiting for the right moment.
Right.
And I think I missed out on a lot of opportunities.
It's so easy to get caught up in that.
to learn and grow and do things that I was passionate about.
Yeah. It makes me think of that quote. I think it was Voltaire who said it. Perfect is the enemy of good.
Right.
And sometimes we get so focused on, making things perfect that we never actually do anything.
It's so true. We let fear and self-doubt hold us back.
Yeah.
But the thing is, every moment we spend hesitating is a moment we can't get back. That's the truth.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to, I think, the core message of everything we've been talking about. Time is precious.
It is.
It's up to us to use it wisely.
Right.
It's about making conscious choices,
Yeah.
setting priorities,
Yeah.
investing our time in the things that really matter to us.
It's been such a fascinating conversation.
It has.
I feel like I have a whole new understanding of time and how I want to use it going forward.
I'm really glad to hear that. And remember, this journey of understanding time, it's ongoing.
Right.
There will always be challenges and distractions and times when we feel like we're not doing enough.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But the key is to just keep learning, keep growing.
Absolutely. It's about progress, not perfection.
Yes, exactly.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much for sharing your insights.
The pleasure was all mine.
And for everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the value of time. Remember, time waits for no one, so make the most of it. Create a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling to you.
Well said.
And on that note, it's time for us to wrap up this episode. Until next time, take care and make your time count.
This is DigitView.